Hello and welcome to a deck tech for Rhinoceros Pod. I am BBD and I am going to be battling with this deck in a 4 round daily event. So basically, I am getting back into Modern a bit because there's a Grand Prix in Omaha, January 9th through 11th, somewhere in that range. Then there's also the Pro Tour in February that's also Modern, so I'm starting to try to reacquaint myself with Modern after not really playing it for a long period of time. And I've tried a couple of decks out, and they're okay, but they're not really my thing. So I figured I would go back to trying out Birthing Pod. And one of the things about Birthing Pod is that Siege Rhino's kind of become a big deal in Birthing Pod. So I wanted to take that to the next level and try to build a pod list that was even more Rhino-y than the normal list. So I've actually got a pod list that plays a full 4 copies of Siege Rhino, and I want to go through and talk a little bit about this pod list and why I think it might be a little bit better than the ones that everyone are playing right now. So one of the things about a card like Birthing Pod is that it's great that it lets you get random one-ofs that are good in certain situations and stuff. But one of the things that we've learned from the few years that we've played with this card, both in Standard and in Modern, is that you can't just put anything in your deck. Like all the cards that you're getting with Birthing Pod have to legitimately be good cards on their own, or it's just not worth it. So for that reason, this list is more like good cardy than most pod lists. We don't have any combos in the main deck, and the goal is to just value people out. So I'm going to talk about some of that. I just want the best cards, and once we have a pod, we're going to outvalue our opponents as long as our card quality is good. So we don't really have to have the combos to win. And I'm hoping that that's the case because the metagame seems to have shifted a little bit away from some of the combo decks where you really needed the pod combos to be able to beat them. Now that things like Blue Red Delver are so dominant, people aren't really playing as much Twin or things like that. At least that's what it looks like from what I've seen. So for that end, I have 4 copies of Voice Resurgence, which I think that Voice is very good in the metagame right now. It seems very well positioned against things like Blue Red Delver. So I think having 4 voices is definitely big. 4 Finks as well just seems really well positioned in the metagame right now. And then 4 Siege Rhino. So I want max copies of all these cards that are just very powerful. And then I have 4 Decays and 4 Birthing Pods. And the reason for 4 Decays is because I think this is the best removal spell in Modern. Kills all the creatures in Blue Red Delver, kills things like Blood Moon, but it also kills Jeskai Ascendancy. That deck's become a little bit popular, and it kills some of the other random things too that some of these other decks are going to be playing. It seems like Boggles is starting to pick up again in popularity because it's good against Blue Red Delver, and Abrupt Decay is probably the best card against them. So being able to do things like they put a Spider Umbra on their creature, and then they cast Daybreak Coronet on it. If you can Abrupt Decay the Spider Umbra, it gets the Coronet as well, and you can really blow them out that way. Especially you can use Abrupt Decay to set up things like Orzhov Pontiff to kill their creatures. So it's also great against Affinity, things like that as well. There's just a really powerful card right now in the format. Um, and then to go with that, the rest of the creatures are kind of there to provide support. So Shriekmaw and Archangel of Thune, I just think these are probably the best 5 drops. I think Revelark's a lot worse now because without the combo in the main deck, you're not really trying to use Revelark to fuel your combo anymore. So I like Archangel a little bit better, and then Shriekmaw, just having access to a removal spell is huge. Uh, one Restoration Angel, which is just very good with Siege Rhino and Kitchen Finks and some of these other cards. Just a good value card to have a Restoration Angel there. Eternal Witness, just super powerful. Orzhov Pontiff, really powerful in a lot of matchups. Things like that. Sin Collector. This was the last card for me with Sin Collector, and I'm not sure if it's really worth it, but it does seem good against Blue Red Delver, so we'll keep it there for that. One Pride Mage just for the mirror, and for matchups where we really want to blow up an artifact or enchantment. I don't want to leave home without at least one of these in the main deck. Couple of Waller Roots because I wanted 9 mana producers between Birds, Hierarch, and Waller Roots because we're trying to cast a lot of 4s in this deck, and I wanted a more consistent way to cast Siege Rhino, so I opted for a second Waller Roots, but maybe that should just be another good value creature like maybe a Murderous Redcap or something like that. And then we have a Scavenging Ooze, which again I would not want to play this deck without at least one of those, especially in a format with Treasure Cruise. Just an Ooze like can really disrupt Cruise a lot. Excuse me, I had to sneeze there for a while. Um, and then the mana base, I cut the third township because we're playing a bunch of rhinos. Our mana got a little bit worse, but we do get actually better mana as well with Windswept Heath, which is going to let us fetch for Godless Shrine with all of our fetch lands, something that Misty Rainforest previously didn't let us do. Giant upgrade for the deck. I also cut one of the basic forests for Plains because I wanted to be able to fetch both lands with Windswept Heath. And also now we have Voices, Rhinos, Restoration, Archangel. We have a lot more white cards in the deck than previously, so I wanted the extra white source as well. Sideboard, couple of Path to Exiles. I like to have a few removal spells on the side. And I think now that cards like Dark Confidant just aren't really seeing play, having access to Path to Exile is better than Dismember. Previously, I wanted Dismember because I didn't want to I didn't want to path a turn 2 Bob, and Jund was super popular. Now though, giving them the land was almost as bad as them having a Bob in play. Now though, I don't want to spend 4 life to kill a young Pyromancer against a deck that's trying to bolt me out. So Path just seems a lot better. I have the Linvala for like the Mirror Match or Splinter Twin or decks that are trying to use activated abilities. A second Pontiff, which I really like access to in some of the matchups like the Mirror or Young Pyromancer decks or things like that. One Ranger, a Viscera Seer, and a Melira, and these 3 cards along with 2 Quarter Callings come in matchups where we actually do want to combo people out. So we have the combo in the side. Now, one thing I don't have is Murderous Redcap anywhere in my 75 because I figured gaining infinite life was going to be good enough as it is. And you can also combo Viscera Seer, Kitchen Finks, Archangel to kill them too. So I felt like we didn't need the Murderous Redcap, but that may be wrong, and maybe I'll be adding Redcap in future versions of the deck. Maybe I'm going to cut either the second Pontiff or one of these Thought Seizes. We want a Sage, so we have 2 ways to blow up pods or other artifacts and enchantments. A second Ooze, because it's just so good in so many matchups, and then the Melira. And then 4 Thought Seizes for like the combo decks, where you really just want access to a card like this. So maybe since combo is not as prevalent, we can go down to 3 Thoughtseize and rely on Thoughtseize Sin Collector to try to get them that way, and then we can also play the Murderous Redcap in the board too, which will help a lot in the mirror match. But this is kind of a rough first take, but I feel like a lot of the pod lists I'm seeing definitely aren't optimized for the metagame, and I think that this is a step in the right direction. Siege Rhino is just so powerful that I think playing 4 is got to be correct. Maybe we don't want 4 Voices or 4 Finks or something, but I definitely want 4 Rhinos, at least to start with, and see how that works for us. But anyway, hopefully you stick around and watch the matches, and hopefully we get to rhinoceros some people out of some modern games.